In this video, we are going to see how to create the typewriter effect using vanilla JavaScript. This is the 25th JavaScript project. To follow along, I will leave the source code in the description. Fine, you can see it waits and then deletes. Now you can see it waits for some time and then deletes the text. As I said, this is the link to get the source code. I will leave it in the description. And this is the 25th JavaScript project, and these are the steps which we are going to follow, and I have made it into modules, 3 modules. Fine. The first thing, this is how the file structure looks like. We have one HTML file, one CSS file, and one JavaScript file. I'm going to start the JavaScript from scratch. Before that, let me show you how the HTML is. So we just have one heading, and that heading, which is h1 tag, has span tag inside it. This span tag has some attribute, data words and data weight, and inside the span tag it is a place where we are going to dynamically enter the text. This text is nothing but the data words. I have added the link and the script tag, and this is the font awesome, sorry, Google font for typewriter. Now I'm going to add a listener, load listener on the window, and it will execute and it will call a function named initialize. Let me define the function here. Once it loads, what I need is I want to get a span tag and its data attribute. As I said, we have two data attribute, weight and words. I'm going to use it with the query selector. Inside heading we have span, so let me store it into a variable called elements. And with the variable elements, we can access the data attribute, which is data words and data weight. To access it, call the variable, then we have a property dataset, and again the name of it, and store it into a variable called words. The same way continue for the next data attribute. Now, as we have passed words as an array in the HTML, we will be accessing it with the JavaScript as a string. So if I console log and show you, what happens is we have passed the array, but we will receive it in the form of string. That's what I'm going to show you. My PC is little slow today, sorry for that. Refresh again, you can see it's loading, and this is the text. And now I'm going to convert it to array with the help of JSON.parse. Pass the variable and you will get array. Now you can see it has indexes. The same way I'm going to surround it with JSON.parse function. Now you will get the array. Now you can see it's an array with 4 indexes. Fine. Now let me make it 2 so that we can quickly see the output. Now we are going to pass a variable to a constructor function. Let me create a constructor function first. The name of the constructor function would be typewriter, and I'm going to initialize it. Now I'm going to call the typewriter function. We have created it. Now we are going to call it. To call, I'm going to use the keyword new along with the constructor function name. I'm going to pass these data inside as an argument to the constructor function. We can access it over here. We have initialized now we are going to initialize these variables. These are we are receiving it as parameter. Now we are going to define it or initialize it as a variable using the keyword this. Now along with that we are going to add some more variable, which is txt, which would be nothing, and then index. Since it's an array, we will be accessing it with index, and a boolean variable which is isDeleting, false by default, and a function called type. We can initialize the function over here itself, but we are not going to do that. We will be using prototype keyword. Let me see. This is the same way we can do it. We can initialize it here, but we are not going to do it. Now call the constructor function name along with the keyword prototype, which is a property, then call the function. Now you can define the function outside the constructor function. Now what I want to do is we have done this and we have created the function. Now it's for the second module. Now initialize the type. We have done it. We have also done this. Now we are going to call this type function every 1 second, and it will show the message as called every 1 second with the help of set timeout function. Pass the function. So the function would be the same function, which is type, and it would be called every 1000 millisecond. 1000 millisecond is equal to 1 second. Now you can see it is calling every 1 second. You can see the number is incrementing. Let me remove the first console message. Now let me comment this too, and let's proceed further. Now we're going to get the index, store it into a variable, call this dot index, and store it into a variable called index. Now again, this is the index, which is 0. Now I'm going to get the array and I'm going to store it into a variable. To access the array, we would be using the index itself. Now let me pass the index over here. By default it's 0. I have initialized the index as 0, so we would be getting the first, which is web designer. Words is an array. You can see, let me comment it. Words is an array, so we need to access it with index 0. So we'll be getting web designer. I have passed 0. It is because I have made 0. I have initialized index with 0. You can see. So the next is, if we have passed the error, if isDeleting is false, we are going to create a if else condition. You can see we have used the isDeleting by default, made it false. Now if it is deleting, then we are going to add character 1 by 1, or else we are going to remove the character 1 by 1. So by default it is false, so this block of code is going to run. It's true right now, so this won't be working. So the else part will work. So we'd be adding this. By default it's nothing. You call the array. So let me show you on the console. So this is the array. Let me comment it. So the array is in the keyword words, access it with index, let me pass 0, and with the help of function substring I can get one by one character from it. So starting with 0, and I need only one character, so I get W. If I only need 2, I need to increment it by 1. If I need 3, I need to increment it 1, and so on. So the same way, this is what we are going to do here, and the value we are going to store it inside this .txt substring, and start with 0 and end with 1 and increment it with 1. So this is what we are going to get, WE. This WE will be stored in the this.txt, and each time it is going to get incremented, so I'm going to get the length of it. The same way, do this for the removing one by one character by making it minus. We have done this. Now since we are adding, we can get the increment and decrement. Let me show you the console message. By default it's false. Now it's going to get one by one incremented. Now I want to append this. Now it's 1 second. I want to append this to the span tag. So let's call the element. The element is simply the span tag. I have stored it into a variable called element, so we can access it with this keyword inside the constructor function. And with the help of the property inner HTML, we can add HTML to this span tag. So for that I'm going to use the backtick along with the template literal. So this dot text can be accessed using template literal. This is the syntax for it. Now you can now the output will be visible on the screen or on the browser. It's loading. Now it's done. Now you can see it's very slow. If you want, you can change or increase or decrease the time. Now let me add a style to it. That is, you will get a border right. It's a class. I have added border right, 2 pixel, solid and white. You can see there's a bar after the text. Now we will be getting only web designer, and it stops. Fine. Now we are going to get the state. Let me remove the comment. Now you have to understand the state of the keyword. This is deleting. Now if not deleting, you can see now it's not deleting and reached the full text. Yes, it has reached the full text. Use the if condition. If it is dot deleting is false, we have to make it true, and this dot text is equal to the array value, which is full text. Then we have to make it opposite. That is, we have to make this line of code to run. So for that we have to make the deleting true. This will work only if it's true, so we have to make it true. So now let's check, and again let me check and show you. It will work. Let me decrease the time typing speed by 300 millisecond. So now you can see it's getting backspaced and it will stop over here. Now you have to understand the state. Now here, if deleting has reached, now you can see the state is now deleting. That means this dot is deleting is true, and this dot text is blank. Now what we need to do is we have to call the we have to make it false again, so that it can go through and fro. That is, let me make it false. Now the web designer will be visible. Once it's completely visible, it will be backspaced and it will get into nothing, and again it will be fully visible and you will see the whole text, and again it will be backspaced to nothing. So these are going to happen every time. Now we are going to use the next word. We have passed the index, so let me we have to increment the index in the keyword this dot key. We have to use this dot index. So with the help of this, what will happen is it will start from web designer and then web developer, and then it stops over there. First time web designer and then it comes web developer, as this is the word we have passed on the HTML attribute, and it will stop. We don't have to do this. What we have to do is we have to loop through it with the help of mod. So use the mod operator along with the length of the array. So what it will happen is it is going to loop through every time. It will not stop. It will not stop after two words. After two set of words, it will keep on repeating. It will get into the infinite loop. And again you can see web designer is showing up, and that seems to be working. Now we are going to change the speed of typing. So this is the place where we are going to modify it. When the function is initialized, I want the speed to be 500 millisecond, and when the text is completely visible, at that time I need the wait value to get initialized. Wait is coming from here, which is 2 seconds. So it will wait 2 seconds. The typing speed would be 500 millisecond and it will wait 2 seconds, and then again it will proceed to backspace. Now you can see it's 500 millisecond. Now it will wait 2 seconds and then proceed with backspace. That's all for this video. Thank you so much for listening. Get a source code in the description. This is the 25th JavaScript project.